The night air in downtown Bridgemore was thick with anticipation. Inside the towering glass edifice of Halcyon Industries, the usual hum of late-night maintenance echoed through the empty corridors. Rena Caldwell, clad in her janitorial uniform, moved methodically, her footsteps muffled by the plush carpeting. As she entered the executive conference room, a place she had cleaned countless times, something felt different. The room was pristine, yet a single envelope lay conspicuously on the polished table. Her name was scrawled across it in bold letters. With hesitant fingers, Rena opened the envelope. Inside was a letter bearing the company's official seal. Her eyes scanned the words, disbelief washing over her. Effective immediately, you are appointed as Cultural Liaison for International Affairs. The letter was signed by Jonathan Fales, the CEO himself. The following morning, the office buzzed with whispers. Employees gathered in clusters, their conversations laced with curiosity and skepticism. Did you hear about Rena? The janitor? Promoted to an executive role? She must have some hidden qualifications. Rena walked through the corridors, her posture straight, eyes forward. She was acutely aware of the stares, the murmurs, but she remained composed. In her new office on the 12th floor, she found a modest setup, a desk, a computer, and a potted plant. She placed her janitorial badge in the drawer, a silent reminder of her journey. Her first meeting was with Victor Lang, head of international operations. He entered the room, clipboard in hand, his expression unreadable. "So you're the new liaison," he said, his tone neutral. "That's correct," Rena replied. "Do you have experience in corporate environments?" "Only from the outside looking in," she responded. He handed her a folder. "These are reports from our international partners. Let's see what you can do." Rena spent hours poring over the documents, her linguistic skills and cultural knowledge proving invaluable. She identified discrepancies, corrected mistranslations, and provided insights that had been previously overlooked. Word of her competence spread quickly. Some colleagues were impressed, others resentful. One afternoon, she received a handwritten note. "I used to think I'd be invisible forever. But today, I stood a little taller because of you. Thank you." No signature, just affirmation. However, not everyone was supportive. Eleanor Trask, a senior board member, requested a meeting. In the conference room, Eleanor laid out Rena's file. "No college degree, no formal corporate training," she stated. "That's correct," Rena acknowledged. "Then explain your qualifications for this role." "I speak multiple languages, understand diverse cultures, and have already resolved several international issues," Rena replied confidently. Eleanor's gaze was piercing. "You're a gamble." "My entire life has been one," Rena responded. After the meeting, Rena sat on a bench outside the building, reflecting on her journey. She called her daughter, seeking comfort in her voice. The next day, a message appeared on her office whiteboard. "We see you." Rena's influence grew. She mentored interns, offered guidance, and became a beacon for those previously overlooked. One day, Jonathan Fales approached her. "I'm considering a program to identify internal talent," he said. "I'd like to help," Rena offered. Together, they launched Voice Within, aiming to empower employees in non-traditional roles. As Rena prepared for a leadership summit, she received an anonymous envelope. Inside was a single sentence: "Not everyone is pleased with your ascent." A chill ran down her spine. The stakes had just been raised. If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video. The morning sun cast long shadows across the glass facade of the Bridgemore headquarters. Inside, whispers filled the corridors, bouncing off polished floors and echoing in hushed tones. Rena Caldwell sat at her desk, the anonymous note still clutched in her hand. The words, "We see you," lingered in her mind, both comforting and unsettling. Her office, once a janitor's closet, now bore her nameplate: Rena Caldwell, Cultural Liaison. But the transformation hadn't erased the skepticism that clung to her presence like a stubborn stain. A knock at the door jolted her from her thoughts. Jonathan Fales entered, his expression unreadable. "Rena, we need to talk." She gestured to the chair opposite her desk, but he remained standing. "There's been a development," he began. "Eleanor Trask has called for an emergency board meeting. She's questioning your appointment." Rena's jaw tightened. "On what grounds?" "She claims procedural irregularities and demands a review of your qualifications." Rena stood, her posture firm. "Let her. I have nothing to hide." The boardroom buzzed with tension. Eleanor Trask, impeccably dressed and exuding authority, addressed the assembled members. "We must uphold the integrity of our institution." Ms. Caldwell's sudden promotion bypassed standard protocols. Jonathan interjected. "Rena's contributions have already proven invaluable. Her linguistic skills and cultural insights have resolved long-standing issues." Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "Be that as it may, we must ensure transparency." Rena entered the room, her presence commanding. She laid a folder on the table, its contents meticulously organized. Inside are records of my work, endorsements from international partners, and a detailed account of my contributions. Eleanor flipped through the documents, her expression unreadable. After a moment, she closed the folder. "This will require further review." In the days that followed, Rena continued her work undeterred. She facilitated negotiations with foreign clients, corrected mistranslations, and mentored interns. Her office became a hub of activity, a beacon for those seeking guidance. One afternoon, a young intern named Bao approached her. "Miss Caldwell, how did you learn all those languages?" She smiled. "One word at a time. Same way you will." Meanwhile, whispers of a new initiative began to circulate. Jonathan Fales, inspired by Rena's journey, proposed a program called Voice Within, aimed at uncovering hidden talents within the company. Rena was tasked with its development. As she delved into the project, she discovered stories similar to hers. Employees overlooked, their potential untapped. She reached out, offering mentorship and opportunities. The program gained momentum, transforming the company's culture. Walls that once divided departments crumbled, replaced by bridges of understanding and collaboration. However, not everyone embraced the change. Eleanor Trask, feeling her authority threatened, began to dig deeper into Rena's past. She uncovered a sealed file, its contents classified. Curiosity piqued, she sought access, leveraging her connections. One evening, Rena received an anonymous message. "Beware the shadows. Not all eyes are friendly." The warning sent a chill down her spine. She knew the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she was prepared. As the sun set over Bridgemore, Rena stood by her office window, reflecting on the path she'd taken. The road was far from over, and the next chapter promised to be even more tumultuous. A sudden knock interrupted her thoughts. She turned to see a courier holding an envelope. "For you, Miss Caldwell." She opened it, revealing a single sheet of paper with a message. "The past never stays buried. Prepare for what's coming." Rena's heart pounded. The stakes had just been raised. The letter was unsigned. No return address. No clue where it came from. Just a single line, written in sharp, hurried strokes. "They know what you did in Amroun." Rena Caldwell stood in her office, heart hammering. The envelope trembled in her fingers. She read it again. Then a third time. No one knew about Amroun. Except her. And one other person. She closed the blinds. Locked the door. Sat down slowly. Her mind raced. Amroun. Algeria. 12 years ago. The relief mission that turned into something else. Something off the books. Something she'd promised never to speak of. It wasn't even in her background file. Not in any system. Not even Jonathan Fales knew the full story. She had buried that chapter deep. Now it was clawing its way back. She opened her desk drawer. Pulled out her encrypted USB. Slid it into the port. The screen blinked twice. Then her files loaded. She scanned the folder marked prior. A collection of flagged incidents, covert briefings, and redacted reports. One name stood out. Arnaud Deveau. Ex-military. Freelance security consultant. Last seen working black contracts out of the Sahel. She hadn't heard his name since the extraction in Amroun. He was supposed to be dead. She clicked the file. It was empty. Gone. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Silence. Then a whisper. Male. Ragged. You should have stayed cleaning floors. Click. The line went dead. She bolted upright. Rushed to the door. Checked the hallway. Empty. No one. Just the hum of overhead lights. She backed inside. Shut the door again. Her hands were cold. Her spine locked. Rena knew two things. One, someone had access. Two, they weren't just watching, they were warning. By the next morning, Fales was waiting in her office. He didn't smile. You look like hell, he said. She slid the letter across the desk. Said nothing. He read it, eyes narrowing, jaw tightening. When he looked up, the warmth in him was gone. Do you think it's him? Deveau, she asked. Fales nodded. I don't know, but he's alive. Or someone wants me to think he is. He tapped the envelope. This doesn't go to security. I figured. Only 3 people knew about Amroun. You, me, and the director. And the director's dead. They sat in silence. Then Rena said, I want access. Full logs. Building footage. Badge swipes. Every floor. Done. I need 10 hours. You have 6. She got to work. In the server room, she pulled internal entry data. Someone had accessed the executive floor at 2:17 a.m. using a maintenance override code. Only 4 people had that clearance. She wasn't one of them. She cross-checked badge IDs. One caught her eye. E. Trask. Eleanor? No. It didn't make sense. Eleanor had been ruthless, sure. Skeptical. Traditional. But involved in something like this? She downloaded the footage. Froze on the frame. It wasn't Eleanor. Wrong height. Wrong posture. Someone had cloned her badge. She zoomed in. Caught the edge of a sleeve. A patch. Security services. Internal. Someone from inside the building. Someone hiding behind a legitimate uniform. The company had been compromised. She met with Fales at 6:30 p.m. sharp. Showed him the frame. He leaned forward. This isn't just about you, he said quietly. She nodded. I think voice within was the trigger. He frowned. The program? It's exposing the cracks. People are watching. Not everyone likes it. This isn't just personal anymore. She took a breath. It's political. Fales leaned back, and for the first time, Rena saw something in his face she hadn't before. Fear. Not for himself, but for the company, for the people in it, for what they'd unleashed. Later that night, her apartment door was unlocked. She hadn't left it that way. Inside, nothing was taken, but someone had been there. On her kitchen table was a folded piece of printer paper. This time it wasn't typed. Just 3 words. Stop digging. Now. She called no one. She didn't run. She changed clothes. Took the stairs to her car. She drove across town to a library where the cameras didn't work. Logged into a VPN tunnel from a public terminal. Searched an old name. If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video. Faria Nejam, a journalist, used to cover foreign ops. Burned too many bridges. She owed Rena a favor. The connection buzzed once, then opened. You're calling me? Jesus, Rena. It's been what, 12 years? I need information. Let me guess. Amroun. Rena froze. How did you? I heard whispers last month. Someone's been sniffing. It's not just you thereafter. What do you mean? I mean something happened in that town, and someone's finally ready to make it public. Files are changing hands. Private brokers. High-level clients. Who? Names I don't even want to repeat. Rena felt her breath catch. What do you know about DeVoe? The line went quiet. Fariha? He's not dead. Rena closed her eyes. I've seen photos. He's working under a new identity. Hiring mercs. Targeting corporate networks. Why? Blackmail. Leverage. He's turning history into currency. And me? You're the bargaining chip. She ended the call. Sat still. In that moment, Rena knew the truth. She wasn't being silenced. She was being positioned. The next morning, Eleanor Trask cornered her in the elevator. Someone's been poking around. Rena didn't blink. Eleanor leaned close. Voice low. You should be careful, Miss Caldwell. You know something? I know this company's history. And I know when it's about to repeat itself. Rena turned to face her. What happened in Amroun? Eleanor flinched. Said nothing. Then stepped off the elevator without another word. That afternoon, Rena received a secure message from Fales. A meeting. Off-site. Confidential. Location, West Side Docks. Midnight. She went. He was already there. In a black coat. Watching the water. She approached. He didn't look at her. They're coming for me next, he said quietly. What did you do, Jonathan? He turned. I tried to protect something that shouldn't have existed. We all did. Now it's unraveling. I need names. He shook his head. You don't need names. You need to disappear. She stepped back. No. He looked at her, eyes raw. Then listen closely. The person leaking information? They're not just on the board. He paused. They're in your program. Rena felt her blood run cold. Voice within. He nodded. Someone's using it. As a pipeline. To who? He hesitated. Then spoke. To DeVoe. The wind howled. Far off, a freighter's horn echoed. Rena turned toward the darkness and whispered, "Then we end it." But in her gut, she knew. They were just getting started. And this time, she wasn't the only target. The next day, the program's internal server crashed. Files deleted. Profiles wiped. Access logs corrupted. Voice within was under attack. Someone inside had triggered a kill switch. And in the rubble of corrupted code, one name remained unerased. C. Keene. A trainee. One of the new faces. Quiet. Bright. Too quiet. Rena opened his file. Something didn't add up. The resume was too clean. The references vague. No social media. No paper trail before 2022. She called HR. Asked for the original application documents. They were missing. Gone. See, Keene was a ghost. Rena stared at the screen and knew he wasn't here to learn. He was here to listen and report. To who? She didn't know yet. But one thing was certain. The walls were closing in. The final storm was near. And the only way out was straight through the fire. She didn't sleep that night. The words wouldn't let her. Not everyone in that building wants you to succeed. Some want you gone. They'd echoed through her mind long after the mysterious voice disappeared. She'd scanned every security feed she could access, every hallway camera. Nothing. It was as if the person had vanished into the walls. By morning, the tension had solidified in her chest. A brick she couldn't swallow. Rena Caldwell stood by the window of her office on the 13th floor, quiet, deliberate, and alone. Bridgemoor's skyline blinked back at her through glass, but she wasn't looking out. She was thinking, calculating. She didn't believe in ghosts. But someone was haunting this company, and she wasn't going to wait to be hunted. She would strike first. She started at the records room. The company's internal audit system, hidden behind layers of clearance, had always been out of reach, until now. Her badge, still freshly coated with executive access, let her in. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. Rows of file drawers, air cold and sterile. A hum from the lights above. She didn't need all of it. Just one name. Eleanor Trask. She searched for anything that didn't line up. Anything that smelled off. 10 minutes in, she found it. A series of expense reports. Hand-signed. Approved for international outreach. Except they weren't going to the right accounts. Offshore payments, buried in sub-vendor invoices, linked to shell entities with names like Westbridge Solutions and Globesphere Holdings. Fake companies. Or worse. She snapped photos with her phone. Emailed backups to an encrypted account. Her stomach coiled tighter with each click. Something wasn't right. Eleanor hadn't just been skeptical of her rise. She'd been nervous. Because Rena was getting too close. She left the records room fast. Too fast. Outside, her phone buzzed. No name. Just a number. She hesitated, then answered. "Stop digging," the voice said. Male. Low. Calm. But sharp as a scalpel. "You're out of your lane, Caldwell." She said nothing. Just listened. "We let you play executive. Gave you the office, the title, the meetings. But you weren't supposed to see the foundation." The call ended. She stood frozen in the hallway. They were watching her. Closely. From the inside. She pressed her back to the wall, heart pounding. Someone had set her up to fail. The promotion hadn't just been an act of hope. It was bait, and now they wanted her to back down. But it was too late. She knew the truth, and truth had a cost. She went to Fales. He was in his office, pacing. Not angry. Not surprised. He waved her in. Closed the door. "You've been busy," he said without looking at her. She dropped the phone on his desk. Screen lit up with the images she'd captured. "Tell me I'm wrong." He stared at them, face unreadable. Then he said the last thing she expected. "I knew." Silence. Her throat tightened. "What?" He sighed. Sat down. "I didn't know how deep, but I suspected for years." "And you did nothing?" "I waited. For someone who could." His eyes locked onto hers. "You." That changed everything. He'd chosen her not just because of her languages. Not just her insight, but because he needed someone uncorrupted. Someone outside the system. Someone no one saw coming. She wasn't a symbol. She was a weapon. And she'd been fired straight into the belly of a rotting machine. She could have walked away. Could have let it go. But walking away never got her here. And it wouldn't fix what was broken. They'd tried to scare her. Tried to silence her. Now it was her turn. She called a meeting. Not with the board. Not with the execs. With the people. The staff. The interns. The custodians. The mailroom workers. The ones no one invited upstairs. She booked the main auditorium and filled it. Fales stood quietly in the back, watching. She took the stage. No script, no slideshow, just a story. Her story. And then she laid it bare. The payments, the shell companies, the silence at the top. Names she couldn't prove yet, but patterns she could. Whispers turned into gasps. Someone stood and asked, "What happens now?" Rena's voice didn't shake. "We hold them accountable. We open the books. We shine light in every corner." Another voice, louder. "They'll come for you." She nodded. "Let them." The applause didn't come instantly. It built. Hesitant at first, then louder, fiercer. By the time she left the stage, they weren't just clapping. They were standing. Eleanor Trask didn't show up to the next board meeting. Her office was emptied quietly over the weekend. An internal investigation was announced Monday morning. No names. Not yet. But the walls were cracking. Rena kept working. Quieter now. Watching, listening. She knew this wasn't over. The corruption ran deep. Some of it invisible. But change had a sound. It was slow. Relentless. Like a heartbeat after silence. Weeks later, she received a letter. No return address. No name. Just one line written in black ink. "They underestimated you. We won't make that mistake again." It wasn't over. Not yet. But for the first time, the building didn't feel so heavy. And neither did the nameplate outside her office. Rena Caldwell, Cultural Liaison, International Affairs. She passed it each morning without flinching. Because now it meant something more. Not just a job. A revolution. And she was leading it. One floor. One truth. One fight at a time.